You ever come home from something that changed you, only to realize something at home changed too, and not in a good way? Yeah, that's how this started. Because while I was overseas, doing my job, someone back home decided my driveway was his. And the worst part? He really thought I wouldn't do anything about it. So let me take you back a bit. In early 2021, I bought this small corner house just outside a quiet neighborhood in southern Ohio. Nothing fancy, just one of those places you don't fall in love with at first sight. But the more you look at it, the more it makes sense. It had this long, straight driveway, gravel at first, but wide enough for my truck, my tools, and honestly, it just felt like mine. That was the thing. After years of moving around, deployments, temporary housing, I wanted something solid, something that didn't move. The house wasn't the selling point. That driveway was. I remember standing there with the realtor, keys in my hand, just kind of nodding to myself, thinking, yeah, I can build something here. Not physically, just life-wise. And for a while, it was exactly that. Quiet mornings, occasional barbecues with a couple buddies, my older brother Nate dropping by unannounced like he always did, complaining about my choice in lawn chairs. It was simple, but it was mine. Then deployment orders came in. 8 months. Not unusual, not dramatic, just part of the job. Before I left, I asked Nate to swing by once a week. Just keep an eye on things, check the mail, make sure nothing looked off. He lived about 20 minutes away, and honestly, he took that job way more seriously than I expected. Don't worry, he told me, tossing a beer cap into the trash. If anything even looks at your house funny, I'll know. I laughed. I didn't think he meant it literally. About 4 months in, I get a call from him. Now, Nate doesn't call for small stuff. He's more of a, I'll tell you when I see you kind of guy. So when my phone rang and I saw his name pop up, I already knew something was off. Hey, I said. There was a pause. Not a long one, just enough. You got a boat? He asked. I remember actually laughing. What? A boat? He repeated. Like, fishing boat. Trailer. Sitting in your driveway. I thought he was messing with me. Very funny. I said. No, I don't have a boat. Another pause. Yeah, I didn't think so. That's when the tone changed. And you can always tell with people you've known your whole life. There's a shift. Subtle, but real. So whose is it? I asked. That's what I'm trying to figure out. At first, we both assumed it was one of my buddies. I've got a couple friends who fish, a couple who don't really think things through. It wouldn't have been completely out of character for someone to just park something they're thinking I wouldn't mind. But here's the thing. The boat didn't move. Not that day, not the next, not the next week. It just sat there, right in the middle of my driveway like it belonged. About a week later, Nate calls again. I checked your cameras, he said. Now that got my attention. I had installed a couple basic security cameras before leaving, nothing fancy, just enough to keep an eye on things remotely. Except I hadn't been checking them much. Spotty signal where I was, long hours, it just wasn't on my radar. What did you see? I asked. And he told me. Late at night, like 11:30, almost midnight, headlights backing into the driveway. A pickup truck. Older model. Dark color. Guy gets out, unhitches a small fishing boat, leaves it there, then just drives off. Like it was normal. Like it was his place. You recognize him? I asked. Yeah, Nate said. Neighbor. 2 houses down. Guy with the blue siding, kind of beat-up porch. I knew exactly who he meant. I'd seen the guy a few times before deployment, mid-40s maybe, always working on something in his yard. Never really said more than a quick nod. Didn't seem like trouble. Didn't seem like anything, really. So what did you do? I asked. I went over there, Nate said. Knocked on his door. Of course he did. That's Nate. He told me the whole conversation later, almost word for word. Guy opens the door, looks half surprised, half annoyed. Nate points toward my driveway. Hey, that your boat? Guy shrugs. Yeah. You mind moving it? Another shrug. Just temporary. Nate doesn't move. The homeowner's deployed right now, he says. That's not your property. And this is the part that stuck with me. The guy laughed. Not nervous, not apologetic, just dismissive. He's not even here, he said. When Nate told me that, something in my chest tightened. Not anger yet. Just something else. You ever hear someone say something so casually disrespectful that it takes a second to actually register? That was it. He's not even here. Like that made it okay. Like absence meant permission. What did you say? I asked Nate. I told him to move it, he said. And he said he would. Did he? Yeah, Nate said. Next morning, it was gone. I exhaled. All right, I said. Maybe that's it, then. Maybe, Nate replied. But there was something in his voice, and I should have paid more attention to that. Because what neither of us knew at the time was that wasn't the end of it. That was just the first time he got caught. And some people, they don't stop when you ask them to. They just wait until you're not looking. 2 weeks later, the boat came back, right into my driveway. Same spot, same time, like nothing had ever happened. And that's when this stopped being a misunderstanding and started becoming something else entirely. So yeah, 2 weeks after Nate thought he'd handled it, the boat came back. Same trailer, same dent on the side panel, same crooked way it sat like it owned the place, right in the middle of my driveway like it had never been told otherwise. And the crazy part? It showed up the exact same way. Late at night, quiet, no hesitation. Like the guy had already made up his mind that whatever warning he got didn't count. Now here's where things get a little complicated, at least in my head, because I was still overseas at the time. And when you're out there, your world gets real small, real fast, mission, routine, staying alert, staying alive. You don't have a lot of space for something like a guy back home parking his boat where it doesn't belong. But at the same time, that house, that driveway, that was mine. It was one of the few things in my life that felt anchored. And now every time Nate called, it felt like that anchor was getting messed with. What do you want me to do? Nate asked. I could hear it in his voice. He was ready to go handle it, probably not in the most diplomatic way. But I told him to wait. Just don't escalate it, I said. If it's there, knock again. Tell him to move it. Again, he asked. Yeah, I said. Again. So he did. And this time, the conversation didn't go as smoothly. Nate told me the guy opened the door slower this time, like he already knew why someone was there. Hey, Nate said. Boat's back. The guy leaned against the doorframe, arms crossed. Yeah, he said. No explanation. No apology. Just yeah. You need to move it, Nate said, a little firmer now. It's just for a couple days, the guy replied. You said that last time. And I moved it, didn't I? That line. That one stuck with me. Because technically, he wasn't wrong. But that's the kind of logic people use when they're testing how far they can push you. Nate stood there for a second, then said, Look, man, he's coming back eventually. You're going to have a problem if you keep doing this. The guy just smirked. We'll see. That was the second mistake. He moved the boat again later that evening. And for a while, it stayed gone. Long enough that I almost stopped thinking about it. Almost. Fast forward 4 months. Deployment ends. I land back home. And there's something about that first drive back to your own place after being gone that long. Everything feels a little sharper, a little more real. The roads look smaller. The air feels different. And when I turned the corner and saw my house again, it was exactly how I left it. Quiet. Still. Driveway empty. I remember just sitting in my truck for a minute, engine idling, looking at it, thinking, all right, maybe that whole thing was just a weird hiccup. Maybe Nate handled it. Maybe the guy got the message. Yeah, no. Because 2 weeks later, I came home from grabbing groceries, and there it was. That same boat. Right back in my driveway. Middle of the driveway. Like a flag planted in the ground. I didn't even get out of the truck right away. I just sat there, hands on the wheel, staring at it. And it wasn't just about the boat anymore. It was the message. He knew I was back. He had to know. My truck was there, lights on, movement in the house. And he still put it there. That's when it clicked. This wasn't convenience. This wasn't temporary. This was entitlement. So I got out, walked straight over to his house, and knocked. Not hard, not aggressive, just direct. He opened the door, same as before, same look. Only this time, there was a split second where I saw recognition. Oh, he said. You're back. Yeah, I replied. I am. And for a moment, we just stood there. Then I nodded toward my driveway. That yours? He glanced past me, like he had to double check. Yeah, he said again. Always that same answer. Short, casual, like it didn't matter. I kept my voice calm. That's my property, I said. Not a storage lot. He shrugged. It's just for a few days. I actually smiled a little at that. Not because it was funny, but because it was predictable. You said that before, I told him. And I moved it, he shot back. There it was again. That same logic. That same attitude. So I stepped a little closer. Not threatening. Just enough to make sure he understood I wasn't going anywhere. I'm not asking again, I said quietly. Move it. and don't bring it back. For a second, I thought maybe that would be it. That maybe hearing it directly from me, seeing me standing there, would change something. But instead, he just looked at me, kind of tilted his head, and said, "We'll see." That was mistake number 3. He moved the boat that evening. No argument. No scene. Just gone. And for about a week, everything was quiet again. Then Saturday rolled around. I woke up, made some coffee, stepped outside. And there it was. Again. Same spot. Same angle. Same quiet little statement. "I'm going to keep doing this, and there's nothing you're going to do about it." I stood there for a long time, coffee in one hand, just looking at it. And I realized something. Up until that point, every interaction we'd had was based on one assumption: that I was going to keep asking, that I was going to keep giving him chances, that I'd play along with this back and forth until he felt like stopping. And that's when I decided I was done asking. I didn't go knock on his door, didn't leave a note, didn't even look in his direction. I just pulled out my phone and made a call. "Yeah," I said when they picked up. "I need a trailer removed from private property." The guy on the other end asked for the address. Details, standard stuff. "How soon can you get here?" I asked. 45 minutes, he said. "That works." And then I just waited. There's something strangely calm about that kind of decision. No yelling, no confrontation, just action. About 40 minutes later, I hear the truck. Big diesel engine rolling down the street. Slow, steady. It turns into my driveway like it's done it 100 times before. Which, ironically, it was about to. Driver steps out, middle-aged guy, sunglasses, doesn't say much. Just gives me a nod. "That it?" he asks. I point to the boat. "That's it." He walks around it, checks the hitch, hooks it up like it's routine, like it's just another job. And to him it is. But to me, this is the moment things shift. The chains tighten. The trailer lifts. And just like that, it's no longer in my driveway. Removal number 1. And I remember thinking as that truck pulled away, this is either going to fix everything, or it's going to start something. I didn't have to wait long to find out which one it was. Because that evening, there was a knock on my door. That knock on my door later that evening. Yeah, it wasn't friendly. Not even close. I opened it, and there he was, standing a little too stiff, jaw tight, eyes already heated like he'd been rehearsing this moment all the way over. "Where's my boat?" he snapped. No hello. No pretending this was a misunderstanding anymore. Just straight to it. I leaned against the doorframe, kept my voice level. "It's been towed," I said. "Impound yard on Route 18. For a second, he just stared at me, like I'd said something in a different language. Then it hit him. "You had it towed?" he said louder now. "I did." "You serious right now?" I shrugged slightly. "I told you not to park it there." And this is where people usually expect yelling, some big explosive argument, neighbors peeking through curtains, all that. But honestly, that's not how it felt. It was quieter than that. Tighter. Like all the tension had finally found a direction. "You could have warned me," he said. And I remember letting out a small breath, not annoyed, not surprised, just tired. "I did," I said. "Multiple times." He shook his head like I was the unreasonable one. "It was just for a few days." There it was again. That same line. That same excuse he kept recycling like it meant something different every time he said it. "Then it shouldn't cost you much to get it back," I replied. That landed. You could see it. Not because of what I said, but because of what it meant. Tow fee. Storage fee. Time. Inconvenience. All the things he thought he could push onto me, suddenly sitting right on his shoulders. He didn't say anything else after that. Just turned, walked off, a little faster than he came. And for about 2 weeks, nothing happened. No boat. No problems. No knocks. I almost thought that was it. That maybe, just maybe, that one move had been enough. Yeah. No. Because one morning, I stepped outside, and there it was. Again. Same boat. Same trailer. Same exact spot. Like we hadn't just gone through all of that. And I actually laughed. Not out of humor, more like disbelief. Like, "You really want to do this again?" So I didn't hesitate. Didn't think about it. Didn't walk next door. Didn't even finish my coffee. I just pulled out my phone and made the call. "Hey," the dispatcher said. "Yeah," I replied. Same situation. There was a pause, then a slight chuckle. "Boat again. Boat again. Removal number 2. And that's when it became a pattern. See, the thing about people like that is they don't stop when they're wrong. They stop when it becomes too expensive not to. But he wasn't there yet. Not even close. 2 weeks later. Boat's back. Removal number 3. Next month. Same thing. Removal number 4. Then 5. By the end of that summer, we were at 5 removals. 5 times he paid to get that boat back. 5 times he chose to ignore the simplest solution, which was just not putting it there. You'd think that would be enough. It wasn't. Instead, he got creative. One time, I came home and the trailer was halfway into my driveway. Like he thought if it wasn't fully in, it somehow didn't count. Like property lines were suggestions. I stood there looking at it, shook my head, and made the call. Partially and still counts. The driver told me when he showed up. Good, I said. Removal number 6. And from there, it just escalated. 7, 8, 9. By the time we hit double digits, the towing company didn't even need explanations anymore. I'd call, give my address, and they'd already know. Got it, the dispatcher would say. We'll send someone. At one point, she actually laughed and said, You and that boat got a thing going on, huh? I said, not for long. Removal 10, 11, 12, 13. And each time, same routine. Truck shows up. Chains tighten. Boat disappears. No arguments. No drama. Just consequences. But my favorite one, that was number 14. He had people over. Weekend, couple cars parked out front. Music playing low, just a casual get-together. And right there in the middle of it all, his boat was sitting in my driveway again. I made the call. Tow truck rolled up slow, real slow, like it knew it had an audience. You could see people turning, conversations pausing, heads tilting. Driver gets out, does his thing, calm, professional, hooks it up, starts lifting. And that's when the neighbor comes running out. Hey, what are you doing? Driver doesn't even look at him. Private property tow, he says. The guy looks at me. You called them? In front of everyone. I met his eyes. You parked it there. And just like that, boat's gone. In front of his friends. In broad daylight. No hiding it. That one hit different. You could feel it. But still, not enough. Winter came. You'd think the cold would slow things down. It didn't. 15, 16, 17. Snow on the ground, tire tracks leading straight into my driveway like a signature. 18, 19, 20. At this point, it wasn't even about me anymore. It was like he was trying to prove something. Like backing down would mean losing. Then came 21. That one was during a snowstorm. Heavy snow, wind cutting sideways, the kind of weather where most people stay inside and wait it out. I stepped out, saw the boat, half covered in snow, and just stood there for a second. Then I smiled. Because I knew something he didn't. Tow companies don't care about snow. They care about calls. So I made it. An hour later, through the storm, headlights cut through the white, engine rumbling. And that truck showed up. Driver rolled down his window, grinning. Boat again. Boat again. Chains on. Trailer up. Gone. That might have been the moment it finally started sinking in. Because after that, there was a gap. 3 weeks. No boat. No problems. No anything. And then, one last time. Removal number 22. Same process. Same result. And then, number 23. That was the last time I ever saw that boat in my driveway. Because something changed after that. A few weeks later, I noticed trucks next door. Construction trucks. Workers measuring, digging, laying gravel. I didn't ask. Didn't need to. 2 days later, there it was. A brand new extended driveway on his property. Wide enough for his truck. Wide enough for his boat. Wide enough for all the space he'd been trying to borrow from me. Must have cost him a few thousand. At least. And just like that, the problem disappeared. It's been almost a year now. No boat. No issues. No conversations. Sometimes I see him outside. We don't talk. Just a nod, maybe. The kind you give someone after everything's already been said, just not out loud. And every now and then, I think about it. Not the boat itself, but the whole thing. Because here's what gets me. It would have cost him nothing to just respect the boundary in the first place. Instead, he paid for it 23 times over. So now I'm curious. If you were in my position, how many times would you have called that tow company before you stopped? Would you have handled it differently? Or would you have done the exact same thing? Drop your answer in the comments. Because I've heard both sides on this one. Some people say I went too far. Some say I didn't go far enough. And honestly, I still think about that. But one thing's for sure, he never parked that boat in my driveway again. If you like stories like this, real situations, real consequences, hit that like button, subscribe, and stick around. Because sometimes, the smallest boundaries turn into the biggest battles.